and then let's speak. So, what do you have?
What do I have about John? Oh, John. Well, and you might need to, well, not need to, but feel free to interject and prompt me at any moment, John.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll do
yeah,
that. But I think, Hayley, just who you are, you'll just flow, and I'll just be
right.
like back here with my cup of tea, just chilling while you just go do
No
all
need
the.
to do anything. It's fine. So first of all, I would, I'm so honoured and privileged, and so feel so very privileged and so happy to do this for you, John, because I think you are a total whiz, which is not something I've said about many people in general, but especially coaches. I think there's certain ones that are just shining stars, and that they've really tapped into one of their artistries or skills, and doing this sort of, the help that you've given me is certainly your art. So I would say that it started, I reached out to John because I was having, well, I've always had, up until recent times, a fair few densities to move through when it comes to relationships. I can see you giggling. It's making it really hard for me to not giggle, but that's fine. And I've always been very independent, very strong-willed, and did a lot of my own healing and inner work, inner alchemy, not just emotionally, but mentally, and physically, absolutely. So I was kind of used to doing all the things on my own, which is not something that really a coach should be saying, but that was my life, right? I didn't even really know that this sort of industry existed when I was going through a lot of my work. And I think I was by design purposely put in that position to do so much of it on my own, because gosh, it really led me on this very beautiful and deep journey of self-discovery. So I'm very grateful for that. But the missing piece, I guess, was when it came to relationship dynamics, and I know why that was for me personally. I'd never experienced, received, or even witnessed true love, devotional love. So I didn't witness that in my parents. Certainly not. I certainly didn't receive it from them, nor did I from my community. It was just an unknown to me. The only thing that I could, I guess, the only time, or the first time I felt it, was when I had my beautiful mini unicorn little girl and my darling daughter, and that really enabled me to, it was just overcome with true devotional love. But still, that's very different. Feeling it and giving it is very different to receiving it. So I'd, of course, had many relationships that were just just one big, hot, stinky mess, right? Like trailer park dump sort of a mess. And as I did the work, my relationships, the men I was attracting, just like with everything we attract, as we kind of refine ourselves and we deprogram, all the belief systems that are telling us that we're less than or not worthy and all that bollocks. So as I did that kind of on my own, the caliber of men, I guess, increased, but still, I wasn't having any satisfying or fulfilling sorts of relationships. And for a while, I thought it was all me. Like, I thought I just expect too much, and I'm kind of wanting someone, or if I am in a relationship, I want that person to be able to kind of be at the caliber that I am, and to have the same sort of commitment and devotion, especially where it concerned just being all in, playing all in with life, with the relationship, doing better. And I wasn't ever really getting that in another. So I reached out to you, John, and with my current little hot mess. And and what was really refreshing was just to, which is one of the things when you've lived a very an existence that is mainly just on your own, you've done a lot of work on your own, it's really good to have someone whom you respect and admire, because I can't really, certainly don't have, parental figures that I would put in that category. So coming to you and saying, hey, this is my hot mess. This is how I feel about my hot mess. This is my input and part to play in the hot mess. What do you think? And just to have that very clear, concise, honest feedback was the first big kind of, I guess it was like a first proper inhale and exhale of clean air, of clarity. And that was really beautiful. And that in that moment, I guess, beauty does offer hope, and it did. That beautiful moment gave me kind of hope, almost like a reset of, oh, wow, okay, this is not, all of me. There is a possibility for more. Yes, these things that John's sharing with me, Hayley, wouldn't it be nice if you had a partner that did this for you, or was there for you in that way, or kind of matched your ideals and your beliefs and your intentions and all the things? Wouldn't that be nice? I was like, oh, actually, that would be really nice, And I think that's that's a lot of that's such a big piece of it, because that's something that I'm all about with my coaching, totally different area, and that's like just a new perspective. Because so many of us, and that was what you were giving me, John, you were gifting me that perspective of, oh gosh, I did not even think that was possible. Here I was thinking that I just had to settle, or then I got to the point of, fuck settling. I'd rather just do it on my own. Like, I'd rather just look at me in the mirror and wake up with me, as opposed to doing it with someone that was just so much less than. And when I say less than, I mean, I really think that our value is really based on our effort, in many ways. And of course, as we refine, we're able to put in more effort. And I just wanted, if I couldn't have someone that matched me and then someone inspired me to do better, and I them in return, I just wanted nothing. So when you came in and said, that's possible, did you know that? It was wonderful. It was like this big eye-opening experience. And that would be my conclusion of chapter 1.
Thank you. Now, so thank you for that. Hey, that's perfect. And so you're a beauty pursuit coach, right? And the clients that you touch tend to be women who have gone through either some form of relationship dumpster fire or relationships consecutive dumpster fires. So, I, in regards to dumpster fires, what was the kind of dumpster fires that you were presented with in your relationship history?
Oh gosh, I mean, flip. What do you want this to be rated? Do you want it to be able
18
to
plus,
watch for a
Hayley.
variety of audiences, or
18 plus, because I think women, I think when you come from a disastrous background, or a background
yes.
that's traumatizing, or even neglect, that lowercase t trauma, there's not a landscape to wish for something more. So when someone is being abused or treated like an object, there can really be this, oh well, that's just how I am. That's just how the world treats me. So
Mm,
I think being able to speak to the stuff that I'm not accepting that anymore behavior. I think,
hmm.
yeah, whatever was in that, I'm not tolerating that behavior anymore. Like what was that for you?
Well, I mean, it got really specific and refined as I progressed, but eventually it was just like, I would have thought it was a lot of my things that I wouldn't tolerate were over the top. Now I'm just like, no, they're not, because that's just, yeah. So you get more and more, you expect a more and more refined human, right? As you refine. So I guess early on, though, to answer your question succinctly, I would say that early on it was like, like physical abuse, sexual abuse, incredible mental and emotional abuse and manipulation, um, uh, I've seen the full spectrum, the full range, maybe. I mean, I don't really know. There's so much there. You could write a few Hollywood movies. But yeah, like anything and everything treated like a total and complete utter piece of shit in almost every way you can imagine. So I guess, you know, and a lot of people when I share those sorts of things, they're shocked. How did that, you know? Well, that's because that was my environment that I grew up in. You know, if you put a flea in a jar with a lid on and it jumps for some time, that's all it thinks it's capable of doing. So that's I just thought, as you said, that was me. That's what happened to me. Or this was life. And you know, the problem with that is you then kind of you then accept really shit behavior, and you kind of lie to yourself and say, oh well, at least that's better than that. You know, oh well, my last partner physically abused me. Well, this one doesn't do that, kind of thing. And it's really horrid and scary to think about that is. That's the programming, right? That is the programming. So I think, and it reminds me of this. I've told you this so many times, this story, but I don't care. I'll say it again. There's a lovely video online, and it's these dairy cows that had been born, like bred and born and raised entirely in like a factory shed. They'd never seen, like they've never had direct sunshine. They'd never touched grass. Never been outside. And they were rescued, and there's this like video that kind of shows the journey. And there's this scene, you know, they're put onto a big truck. So again, not really outside on grass. And there's this scene where they undo the back of the truck, and these cows kind of tumble on out, and they touch this beautiful, like the greenest, lush grass, right? And the sunshine. It's this beautiful, probably spring day. And they kind of go through two things, like this look of, oh my goodness, this is the best thing ever, but also like total shock and horror, like what is this? And it just shows you, you know, how much your environment, especially from early on, how it just shapes everything that you think the world to be.
Totally. So in your shock and horror, so what was your shock and horror about being presented with a relationship that was like nothing else you've had before, like this?
Like like my beautiful one. Oh well, that's a big list too. Okay, just give me a moment. The biggest shocks of this with so many. Okay, so yeah, this is good. You might have to tell me to shut up after some time.
No, keep going.
So I would say the first thing was that you know, we were friends for some time, for years, and in that early friendship, just the level of respect. You know, I'd seen my man, whom was my friend at the time, many times, and it was always just total and complete, just chivalry and gentlemanly behavior. And I don't even think we physically even touched, except for one night. You may want to edit this out, I'm not sure. One night where I had not intentionally gotten drunk, but I had only ever drunk wine before, and my best girlfriend had bought this. It was a special occasion, and she bought this very beautiful old bottle of whiskey, and she'd filled mine, my man's, and hers, like a tall glass of it to the top. And her intention was, it was like lunchtime, and her intention was, this is probably all we'll have. We can just sip it, you know, throughout the entire probably 18 hours that we will all be here together. And I just assumed, just like wine, you can kind of just poke. And so I did. And there was this, you know, I don't actually drink much or that regularly. And I'm not that, you know, I'm not very big. So just ego and heart, nothing else. It's my best, one of my best girlfriends that did it. She looked at me and she went, "Oh, you didn't. Oh, you didn't." And I said, "What?" And she told me. She said, "There's probably like, you know, multiple glass. Like you probably just drunk what's equal to a bottle of wine." I was like, "Really?" And my man said, I'm surprised you could even, how are you not on did you even do that? That's like impressive. I have no idea, but absolutely no idea. Anyway, that's okay. That's fine. He said, your arm's going to go through mine now, and for the rest of the day, afternoon, evening, you've got your security guard and or kind of legal practitioner on by your side. And it was just in that moment I just thought, oh, that's so lovely. And what was even lovelier was not once was there ever any sort of, not once did he ever try and take advantage of me in any way, shape, or form. And I would say here, John, is the big key. My body felt safe, safer than it ever had before. Can't even, safer than what it does really when I'm alone. And it was like that from the first moment I met him and saw him. I just wanted to like a little, put me in a little girl mode. I just want to go up next to him, hi, be all stupid and giggly and ridiculous. But it was like this inner calm, not the crazy butterflies, not the kind of angst, nothing. Just if anything, you stop really thinking, and it's you're just being. Yeah, so that would have been the first. Oh, sorry, you're back now.
Back now. Yeah, I hear it was really grounding. Like his energy and his presence just brought you straight back into
Yeah.
yourself, and you just felt you could just be yourself around him.
Yeah, and that's what I've found the whole way through the friendship and then relationship, just totally, completely, unapologetically me. And that's all. And I've got many sides, many aspects I have, and that's that's all of them. That's me being just outrageous, silly, big-headed, also like a scared little girl, total brat at times, like a total brat, and all of it. And I remember this was the second thing that really surprised me was it was just when we would talk quite consistently through our friendship, and that was, see, I'm just going to keep coming now. There's so many things. He would always stick to when he said he was going to call, and if something came up, because he's very busy, does a lot of big, great things, he'd say, I'm so sorry, but, I'm going to be a bit late, or can we reschedule? And I'd forget. I'm like, oh, yes, of course we can. I was just here waiting, a few times he called, I'd been out at dinner with a girlfriend, and yeah, oh, flip. So he was very consistent, and he said to me, in that time, many times, he said, I just need you to know that anything you give me is a privilege. So in our phone conversations, you can give me anger, you can give me fears, you can give me tears, you can give me cackles and laughter and anything. It's a privilege to receive you. And all those moments where it's like the cows on the grass. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So in this, like, what did I help you give up? There must, because I hear there's two versions of you here, right? There's the
Two? That's
pre-Hayley,
good.
the single independent Hayley, right? And then there's this other version, right? So what did you need to give up? And what I also think, and maybe you can weave this in here if it feels correct for you, is that I hear a worth piece in here where it's like, no, I'm actually allowed to have this. I can have this. So yeah, what do you hear in
Yes.
that?
Well, you'd said that to me a fair few times, like independent Hayley would be saying, but I'm so, I'm really good on my own. I mean, how many times did I say that to you? John, I don't know if you understand. I'm really good on my own. And I could do this and that, and I enjoy all these things. So I could get like a big PowerPoint presentation of how good my life was on my own. And you would say, something along the lines of, yes, but, you can actually have all of that. And then you can have someone that even gives you more. So, like, imagine everything you're enjoying, but even then some, and enjoying it with someone that makes you feel so treasured and nourished and loved. And, it can be like that, but better. And I'm like, no, because then they'll take more than they give, which is what I kind of what I experienced in those relationships that I said, once I'd done a lot of work and the caliber kind of grew, I would still find that at the end of the day, when everything's, out in the wash, I would still be at a deficit. I would still feel depleted.
Mm.
And that was the other thing that my gentleman said to me early on when we started kind of connecting beyond just friends. He said, I will never, ever be a life taker when it concerns you. I will only ever give you more life. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he,
and and
that
and
was
and I really hear that he honors that, like,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
and so with this, because this is a reoccurring theme with women who have kids, they've built up a business or a level of independence, and then there's this, well, I could have a guy. Do I want a guy? Look how my last relationships ended. So for you, like, what would you say? What would be the advice that you would give to women that are in a similar situation where they reach this kind of ceiling on their life, which they're satisfied with? There's nothing wrong with it, right? But then it's like, well, I could really love this other thing with this other person. What advice would you give them?
As in to move from that sort of independence into being open
In
to
interdependence, like being able to lean on someone that's been the opposite sex that's kind of disappointed you in the past, or taken more than they've given back, or is resentful about giving, or is just not prepared to be the provisionary or
Mm,
or in your words, the patron, right? In
mm,
in your life.
mm. So I had to kind of lean into being open to that again, like as
Yeah.
in receiving that. Yeah. Well, that kind of ties into your question that I didn't answer yet about what did I have to say goodbye to. Yeah. So it was that sort of it was that I think and I have a lot of I see this a lot with my female clients. They've had a similar history and then they finally like drag themselves out of hell and they start like creating something, and no longer do they have these almost like demonic attacks from these parasitical men, and it's just like, oh my god, this is so good, I'm never going back. Yeah. So I guess I had to say goodbye, and really that does come from, it comes from fear. And so I had to say goodbye to a lot of fear and a lot of walls, that I put up in order to not just stay safe, but even present as safe, like just be impenetrable. Do not show any weakness. Do not show any vulnerability, because if you do, it will be used against you. That's it, like freaking crack in. Where in the past it's used against you, right? And
Mm.
it is used to weaken you. And I think for women, especially that they have that independence, they look after themselves, and they're really stepping into that just magnetic, yummy, sexy as anything, feminine power. They will have so many men feel less than around them. And that's just a fact. And so they'll kind
Totally.
of use those weaknesses to get in and just and they will take life. Then if they don't think they want to, they do want to, or they want to kind of pull you down. So
Mm.
I had to say goodbye to a lot of those walls and a lot of the fear, and develop more trust. And I guess that's why the thing that was easy was not just because like it was because of my body was like pulling me there. I was like a moth to a flame. And I always felt so safe, but also you kind of just encouraging me to trust that, and just reminding me that I knew my shit. Like from what I'd kind of gotten out of, I knew my shit. And even though my history with men would definitely present otherwise, I wasn't stuck in those things. I have done better. I have, made better for myself. And I'm being and moving in a very different way now. And so I think, and when you're not coming from that like wounded, broken maiden, I think the other kind of side to that, almost like I'd say a shadow, but just the other side of that is like the total like warrior sort of, warrior sort of princess. Like, I'm not broken, I don't freaking need anything, and that's the way it's going to be, right? um and that's beautiful and all well and good, but softening has to occur from that place as well.
Mm. Totally. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll almost start to wrap this up, and I'll ask you one more
Yeah.
question. If you could summarize in 3 points, like how I helped you come to this state right now, what would it
Mm-hmm.
be?
3 points. Make these clear, concise, specific.
Under a
One,
paragraph.
I'm going to have to just have a moment because
Great.
there's so
Take
many.
a moment.
3 points. I guess, okay, so first would be the just acknowledgement, you being a man whom I respect and admire, an acknowledgement of my journey, how strong I am, how I've, pulled myself out of 10 different hells all at once, and just, seeing me for that, and reminding me, that obviously I've got something, I've got a lot, everything that works in there inside. I know how to be, I know what to do, to trust that, and to kind of not, I guess it's like related to self-worth, that self-trust, and yeah, and just to trust myself, trust my body, and remember that I can tell, I know, I've had a grand education on what is desecrating of life, on what doesn't feel right. And so, if I'm presented with everything that elevates me, and I'm remembering that I'm worthy of all the good stuff, then follow that, and to not have to, I guess, kind of, you'd quite often say to me, have you shared this with him? Not well. Put it in my journal, right? And I sent him a love heart. So, yeah, I think I did. He'd probably really appreciate it if you told him this. Yes, I know he would, John. So those little beautiful whispers of encouragement to kind of to open up. It was like you were kind of the gentle softening, or the gentle guide to my unfolding. Yeah.
Beautiful. I think that's perfect, Hayley. I feel
Oh,
complete
that's
there.
good.
That feels like that's a lovely completion there. Is there anything else you'd like to add or share with anyone?
I don't. I just like, I think it's, if I'd heard myself say this a few years ago, I would just want to vomit and knock myself out. But I'm going to say it. Oh, I like eating my own humble pie, it
Yeah.
seems. Um,
Humble pie's on the menu right now from 2023 to 2024. Lots of humble pie.
Thanks, John.
Extra cream. All right, Hayley. You going?
Oh, no, I haven't said it
Oh,
yet.
all right. All right.
A second. My humble pie moment is this, just to, yeah, if I'd heard myself say this, it wouldn't have been good, but it's the truth. And that is that you can really, I think a lot of women, we get used to so many people that say to have all the good stuff and the love, and a man that does all these wonderful things and shows up for you, and is really a good human, and apologizes, and yes, makes tiny mistakes but fixes them right then and there, and never does them again, and always does better. That's obvious, that's sometimes, said as being fantastical, right? Fantasy, deluded. You've watched too many Disney movies, which, by the way, I have barely watched any, but that sort of thing. But it really is possible. If the way I look at it is, if you're showing up in all the ways, you should naturally, you should be able to receive a reflection of that. And so just, it is possible, and it really can be really beautiful, almost all of the time. And even when there's densities, it's always better afterwards, and it's never that bad during. It's like a little bit shit, and you feel a little bit exposed, then you have to be a little bit vulnerable, and then you both show up, and it just gets better and better. And that's really how it should be. And I think it's just that kind of program or that truth needs to be put in there. So stop settling for less.
Beautiful. And if all the women on the planet stopped settling for less, what do you think
Oh,
it would look like?
well, I mean, it would not force. I don't like what is about to come out, but it will encourage men to step up, right? And I do feel we don't mean to, but we give far too much away far too quickly. And it's like my whole little thing: stop dining with peasants.
Yeah.
Like a queen and empress, she doesn't do that. She doesn't do that. She values her time and her energy so much. And if someone is bringing something to the table that isn't good enough, it's just no, absolutely
Mm.
not. And it's one of my rules when I work with women, and I'm sure you'd be similar, John, or you've heard this or you've said it, and that is every time you say no to anything in life, you're demanding more. You're demanding, just like in a business transaction, someone makes a lowball offer on something you're selling and you say no, well, they either go, or a lot of the time they have to, you're demanding them to offer more. And so if more women did that, it would be just grand healing. Yeah,
Yeah.
grand
Yeah.
healing.
Thank you, Hayley. And thank you for entertaining another question that I asked on the end there. So,
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for all of your help and wizardry and love and just, wisdom, intellect. You're incredible. You're a magician. And thank you so very much.
yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. And thank you again for sharing your heart and just being you, like dancing wherever it is you need to dance to, speak to whatever it is you want to speak to, and just being that animated, like that unicorn energy that you are, right? I really appreciate you just being yourself here. And I'm going to
Yeah,
hit stop,
thank you.
and
Yep,
we
wonderful.
can debrief off camera.
Great.